Everyone, before I start, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry if you hear some background noise. My dogs are confined to their kennels for a couple of days. They're actually really sick. So if you hear any jingling or any kind of movement around in the background, I'm really sorry. I'm going to start at the 15-second mark, okay? In all my life, I've never met a stranger. Communication has always come very easy to me. I find differences in people fascinating, especially in the category of culture. I love to learn other cultures and their behaviors. It helps me understand them so that I can communicate better. However, through my college classes in communication, I found that I still have barriers. Everyone does. Today I want to discuss how I'm going to become more of an open communicator and how my approach to overcoming barriers and how it's going to affect my approach to overcoming barriers with other cultures. This week we've talked heavily about intercultural communication and the barriers that come with it and how to overcome them. It's funny to me, at least, that just 2 weeks ago I started discussing this in another communication course. In that book, there is an entire section on strategies for improving intercultural communication. When I read it, I immediately wrote them down and I started expanding on it. I wanted to put it into my life and how I would use those strategies to be a better communicator. That list is what I'm going to discuss with you today because for me, I feel that if I utilize this list, not only will I become a more open communicator, but I'll also help myself overcome some common barriers within communication. The first item on this list was to conduct a personal self-assessment. It discusses having an honest assessment of your own communication style, belief, and prejudices. This assessment essentially shows you what you need to work on. I found out that my communication style is actually what I needed to work on the most. I'm a fast talker and I talk with my hands a lot. I'm actually trying really hard not to talk with my hands today. These both put barriers in communication because people might find me off-putting or offensive. They may not be able to understand me because I talk way too fast. The second and third strategies were to practice positive communication behaviors and a sensitivity to diversity. I place these together because I feel like they go hand in hand. Communication behaviors such as empathy and encouragement help one to be attuned to diversity. These skills allow you to challenge yourself and talk to someone new, to learn about their life and their culture. Avoid stereotypes and ethnocentrism were next. Stereotypes are awful. You're assuming that you know something about someone's culture when you really need to learn about the individual. Ethnocentrism is when you see and judge other groups or cultures as inferior to your own. My book, it's called Human Communication, and they say it best. You may know your culture the best, but that familiarity does not make your culture superior to all others. You need to learn more about your own culture by learning about others' cultures. Something that you may have never thought was a big deal is actually a big deal in other cultures. Did you know that several other cultures find shaking hands with your left hand offensive? Something that we take for granted in our culture on a daily basis may actually offend somebody. Let's learn why and not judge. The hardest strategy for me in this list is this one that I'm about to talk about. It's called developing a code sensitivity. Code sensitivity is the ability to use verbal and nonverbal codes appropriate to the culture. Well, I talk with my hands a lot. You've probably seen me use my hands more than once on here. It's really hard for me. I've done it since I was a little kid, and it's just natural to me. I know now that it's actually probably pretty offensive to several cultures, and I need to work on it. I'm going to have to work on it a lot, but the more that you know about somebody's culture, the more you know about the verbal and nonverbal language that's appropriate for them. And that's huge. You want to make sure that you're not offending somebody. Use and encourage feedback is the next strategy. The book tells us that feedback should be immediate, honest, specific, and clear, and that feedback encourages adaptation. You should be supportive of the person you're communicating with. I don't elaborate on this one in my notes because I feel like that's the most simplistic statement that you're going to get from it. You can't elaborate it on anymore because that's it. You should be supportive of the person you're communicating with, and you should give them feedback. The last strategy is open communication channels. I find this to be the closest to my heart and to my beliefs. Communication can be frustrating. And to add cultural differences to that can just make it seem downright impossible. You have to be patient to succeed in intercultural communication. Patience to me is, it's a virtue. You've got to be patient in order to be able to understand somebody that you can't understand. You've got to have that patience to have that mutual understanding. All in all, I feel that with this list, I'll be able to be a more open communicator and will be effective in overcoming intercultural communication boundaries. Thank you.